Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today it's yet another video of my 2024 NFL offseason prediction series. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. It helps out with the algorithms, pushes this video out. Leave a comment in the comment section below as well if that helps. And subscribe if you haven't already. I got a whole series on this that has been done so far. And I've had some interesting times doing it. Some teams like it, the fan bases like me a little bit better than others. And I don't know what this fan base is going to think of this video because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they remind me a lot of my New York Giants last year, in that it was a team that overachieved to the masses, found a way to win a playoff game by catching a team that was, not as good as people thought, but doing it with a roster that you were hoping maybe to upgrade. And now you're sort of stuck, particularly as it comes to the quarterback position. Baker Mayfield played a good enough season to get the team a divisional win, a playoff win, and picking in the mid-20s in this draft. Now, that takes you out of play for the top quarterback prospects. So it's really, he's got all the leverage here. So you're going to have to re-sign him. We'll see what that's going to look like. You got some of the key veteran players on your roster that have been stalwarts of this team that you're going to have to bring back. You're going to want to bring them back because you want to at least keep this same roster the best way that you can, and then hopefully in the draft add to it enough, or in free agency add to it enough that you're going to be able to upgrade it and be the opposite of what the Giants just did. Now, with their coaching staff, I don't like it. I do think that they ran into a weak division, which really helped, and it's going to continue to help them and really save Todd Bowles' job. They got some young guys, some young superstar players that are going to need to be extended. They can restructure some deals here and there, and I think they're going to be able to make little, I think, underrated impacts in free agency because, again, unfortunately, they finished a little too good, and they got a little too many signings they got to do in order to, maintain and not take too many steps back, at least not be outward about taking the steps back. You don't want to take the steps back. You don't want to let Baker go. You don't want to, mortgage your future trading up for a quarterback when Baker's there. And maybe if you give him a little bit extra, a little bit more talent, things will go well. But let's get to the coaching staff. Let's get to the rankings of the offense and defense and see where they did well and see where they can stand to improve. So their head coach is, of course, Todd Bowles, who I'm not a big fan of. 2 years in a row, not a big fan of his. Still not a big fan of his. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this coaching staff and how they get this team to remain at the level that they're at, which is overachieving in a weak division. No real team in this division. Maybe Atlanta drastically improves in the offseason. It's hard to project that. So as it stands, they should be still the best team, barring some crazy signings by Atlanta. And they lost their offensive coordinator, Canales, who, it was a hot and cold type season for the offense, really. They didn't score a lot of points, but they threw the ball really well. They didn't run the ball particularly well. Rachaad White sort of came on towards the end of the year, but they were just extremely inefficient in the run game for most of the year. And if Rachaad White wasn't making a big play, they weren't really doing a whole lot. The red zone efficiency was absolutely horrific. They were great on third down, but they just weren't finishing off drives. And that comes mostly from an ineffective run game. Most of the time. They are 8th in passing touchdowns, which shows they weren't really able to throw the ball into the end zone all that much. A lot of their passing touchdowns were coming from 25 plus yards. You want to improve the running game, maybe getting them more of a commitment to Rachaad White on the ground will help improve the overall success of the offense. You were pretty good with sacks allowed. You're middle of the pack with turnovers, which you can improve on by getting a better run game. So you're not putting the ball in the air so much. You're not having your quarterback sit there in the pocket all that for most of the game. You look at some of the defensive rankings. Their defense was sort of the tale of the same story just inverted in some aspects. They were top 10 in points allowed, but they were horrific against the pass. They played the run great. They were not good against the pass. They gave up a lot of yards. They were tremendous in the red zone, but on third down, they just couldn't seem to get off the field. They got to the quarterback well. They had a lot of guys out there able to get sacks. Forcing turnovers, was decent, pretty good. But they need to improve that pass defense. And that comes, I think, really at the intermediate level because, their cornerbacks are pretty good. Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. Maybe you need a third guy in there. Is Zion McCollum going to be an option? You'll have to figure that out. You want to bring back Antoine Winfield. Getting him a pairing at the safety position could be a move that could help them out. Because you can say, oh, got to improve the pass rush, but they were 7th in sacks. So it's maybe not so much that. Maybe it's how the play calling on third down is an issue, and that comes from the defensive coach, Todd Bowles. Because that third down percentage is a glaring issue in the efficiency categories. When you are third down in the red zone, you are 7th in sacks, you are 12th in turnovers, but 23rd in third down percentage. It's a wonder to me how they are so good in those other 3 categories, but so poor on the third down one. That's something they're really going to have to look into here. They had a great bend but don't break defense. That's why the red zone percentage was so high, and they gave up a lot of yards, not a lot of touchdowns. But they're going to have to improve on third down if they're going to want to be able to sustain some of the success that they, again, overachieved in, considering the circumstances. And they do have some cap space coming in, almost $37 million, but they have some big contracts they're going to need to be handing out, so they're going to have to figure out a way to clear up even more cap space than this to bring back a lot of the players that they have currently sitting as UDFAs or sitting on their void years right now. So you got to restructure Chris Godwin and Vita Vea. You're going to get almost $25 million in doing that. You're going to cut Russell Gage because what the hell has he even done since coming there? You're going to get almost $6.5 million for that. And then Carlton Davis, you're going to give him an extension of 3 years. You're going to convert his current year's base salary into a bonus in order to spread that out and clear up some cap space in the initial season. And then, like I said, you got 4 really key players here that you're going to want to bring back. Mike Evans, I'm going to give him a 3-year, $80 million deal. At his age, I don't know that he's going to necessarily command a top 3, top 4 wide receiver money. I think this is a safe place for him to be, and you can, again, put most of it in the bonus, spread it out. Baker Mayfield did enough to win. I'm going to give him a contract very similar, though, to what we saw Daniel Jones and Geno Smith get. It's going to be a 4-year, $120 million deal with a void year. We're going to have a $60 million base, $60 million bonus, and we're going to guarantee probably just the first 2 years. So it gives you an out in the event that he actually isn't the guy, that this was just a big fluke year for him, taking advantage of an easy division and an easy conference. Antoine Winfield's your best player. You're going to bring him back, 4-year, $70 million deal. And Levante David, big-time veteran player for you. I'm going to give him a 2-year, $10 million base with a $25 million bonus. I'm throwing 3 void years in there. So I'm paying him some really big money for the position. A 2-year, $35 million deal is pretty big for a linebacker, but he is a veteran. It's short-term, and we're spreading out the money. So that $17.5 million per year average is actually getting spread out over 5 years. So you're significantly lowering the cap hit there as well. So I think that's a good strategy to use for some of these veteran players that are still important contributors to your, not only to your team, but you want them in there for the sake of the locker room as well. So with all that movement, I basically kept the cap the same. So you're breaking even, Bucs fans. You're breaking even, so you can make some moves in free agency to bring in some guys that are going to improve your roster on both sides of the ball. Because you do need to improve it. You need to improve a wide receiver. You need some offensive line help. You need some defensive line help. I would say, across the defensive line. You want to get some more depth pieces into that defensive line. And when I say defensive line, I mostly mean front four, like defensive line edge. Shaq Barrett, how much longer he going to play. You want to be able to replace him. And then defensive backs. Again, we're helping out this pass defense, and you're helping out the third down efficiency by being good against the pass as well. So those are the two focuses there. The linebacker position, you seem to be pretty good. They drafted pretty well, especially in the later rounds. And you're bringing back Levante David, so that I wouldn't say that that's exactly a big-time need for them. So in free agency, I'm going to target two guys in particular. Tyler Boyd, the wide receiver, 3 years, $35 million deal with a void year in there. This is like, just over $11 million a year average. And he's coming in to be wide receiver 3. He's going to be what you were hoping Russell Gage was. And so you're upgrading that position and upgrading your wide receiver room in the process. And he's another guy who's like a bigger body guy who plays in the slot. So you can put him inside, you can put him outside, you can move him, Chris Godwin, around and have some really creative moments with them. The next one is Armin Watts, who had a great year this past season. So he's actually probably going to get paid this year. So a 3-year, $40 million deal with a void year in there. That's a pretty good contract for a guy who's not notoriously been a great player, sort of had that great year out of nowhere and is entering free agency. So he's going to get paid well, but not as a top tier interior defensive lineman. So I think this is sort of works out for both teams here because he can sort of come in, be a William Golston replacement. Then you got him, you got Logan Hall, and you got Vita Vea, who can be like those 3 defensive linemen with then Shaq Barrett and then whoever you have on the other side, whether it be Yaya Diaby or Joe Tryon, whoever. And you're still going to have $12.6 million to play around with. I like trying to leave teams with at least $10 to $15 million if I can help it to play around with when it comes to that second and third wave of free agency. That's really important money to have, as mini camps happen, fluke injuries, you want to be able to be prepared to deal with that. So there's not really a day-by-day strategy for this team in terms of the draft. I really look at, those first 3 things there. I'm looking at the starting offensive line. Can I get a tackle? I think there's really good tackles in this draft. Maybe you get one in the first round. Or you're looking at somebody who plays defensive back. Maybe you're landing like a Tyler Nubin or something like that. Or someone across the front 7. Maybe you are going to draft a edge player here. If you haven't gone and signed a guy like Tyler Boyd like I did, maybe you are drafting a wide receiver here that falls. Maybe that's something you focus on in the second round. I think on day 3, that's when you can start looking for role players though in the offense. Like look for, a different type of running back, a variety of tight end, stuff like that. But I think that they're in a real good position where they can use their draft capital and free agency to improve their team. I think they just have to be really strategic about it because I would want to focus on improving the offense through veterans more so than I would through rookies who are going to be, more likely hit and miss. You're going to go through learning curves. I'd rather skip over the learning curves, get a guy like Tyler Boyd. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did the opposite of that. It's a tough situation to predict. And there it is, my 2024 offseason prediction video for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Make sure to like, you've made it this far already. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'm sure you got some opinions on this. And subscribe if you haven't already. What do you guys think of me basically running back the entire team and adding in a couple of those pieces there to hopefully help them out and to keep them at least as a playoff team, take advantage of that weak division while it's still weak. And I will see you guys with the next video next time. You can watch there. That's the series. Thanks.